My name is Sarah. I'm 42, and I have experienced the sting of injustice, not inflicted upon me directly, but through someone I cherish deeply. It's that moment when the world seems to distort the truth about who a person truly is, the intrinsic worth of their endeavors, and I feel an irresistible impulse to intercede, to assert with vehemence the reality that perhaps only I perceive with unshakable clarity. It is a peculiar anguish, the pain of witnessing the abasement of a heart I know intimately, the sorrow of seeing the shadow of disbelief or disdain cross eyes I hold so dear. It's as though a part of my very essence is assailed, for the dignity of the other is inextricably interwoven with my own, and silence becomes an intolerable burden in the face of a truth so patently clear to me. It was in one of those breathtaking moments that the echo of scorn ripped through the air, not as carefree, innocent laughter, but as venom directed at my husband Michael's honorable craft. That laughter, replete with bigotry and ignorance, sought to denigrate his work, the profound dedication I witnessed firsthand daily. My gaze locked onto him, and I saw the shadow of pain edge across his beloved face, a fleeting glimpse of the toll that humiliation exacted. Every fiber of my being tautened, and the air seemed to rarefy. In that instant, something ignited within me, a furious yet profoundly lucid flame. My very core screamed an undeniable truth. A man's worth cannot be gauged by the prejudice of others, nor by the narrow-mindedness of those incapable of discerning beyond the superficial. While the room hung in judgment, their gazes fixed upon what they perceived as merely an unusual occupation, I did not perceive what they saw. I discerned the sleepless nights, the silent toil, the hands calloused by unflagging perseverance, the unwavering dignity with which he consecrated every ounce of effort to his art, to his calling, a calling that to superficial observers might have gone unnoticed, but which to me was the very foundation of his soul. It was the passion that propelled him, the integrity that defined him, the quiet strength that forged not only our sustenance, but also our history. That derision did not merely target his work. It was about deprecating the very essence of a human being, of disregarding the inherent beauty of genuine dedication. My throat constricted with profound emotion, yet my voice, steadfast as a rock, knew I could no longer remain merely a silent witness. Something compelled me to rise, to fill that space with the truth that blazed within my chest. I began to elucidate the true essence of that occupation, not with anger, but with a clarity that emanated from a place of love and profound conviction. I articulated the inherent good that work produced, the lives it subtly touched, the robust foundation it built not only for our family, but for myriad others who depended upon it.
My words did not constitute a mere defense, but a revelation, an invitation for them to perceive beyond their own circumscribed perspectives, to comprehend the depth and impact of something they had dismissed as a mere source of amusement. The sound of my discourse permeated the space, hushing the derision and etching upon the countenances of those present a mixture of shock and belated realization. A recoil followed, an altered stillness imbued not with contempt, but with a nascent understanding. In that moment, observing the transformation in their gazes, I grasped a profound truth that rooted itself deep within me. True pride does not reside in facile applause, and external validation as ephemeral as the wind. It resides in unyielding integrity, in fidelity to one's own essence and to those we cherish, in the fortitude to champion what is true, even when the world endeavors to obscure that light. This experience transcended the mere defense of affection. It was about reaffirming the inherent worth we all possess, often forgotten or overshadowed by the perceptions of others. And it is concerning this journey of recognition, of voice, and of love that I wish to speak with you today. Delving deeper into this perception of unshakable integrity, a pivotal question emerges. What, within our inner cosmos, empowers us to articulate this truth in moments of profound challenge? What compels us to uphold what we cherish, even when confronted by the incomprehension or collective derision of others? This capacity does not spring from a void. Rather, it is intricately woven into the rich tapestry of our past experiences and the most profoundly embedded convictions about ourselves and the world. Let us reflect upon the formidable power inherent in self-esteem. Those among us who, throughout their lives, have forged a robust foundation of self-esteem, having learned to discern their inherent worth, irrespective of external validation, tend to manifest an unshakable conviction when championing the dignity of those they hold dear. Such steadfastness does not stem from arrogance. Rather, it constitutes the manifestation of a belief system wherein respect holds absolute primacy. Conversely, individuals bearing the indelible scars of past invalidation or suppression may initially exhibit hesitation. Yet it is precisely during such critical junctures that the often dormant inner voice can be profoundly catalyzed, compelling us to shatter paradigms of taciturnity and to reclaim a vital facet of our inherent fortitude. Furthermore, the way we engage with injustice is profoundly shaped by our lived experiences. If, at any point in our lives, we have witnessed or experienced situations where truth was distorted, where dignity was violated without an intervening voice, these memories can become a potent trigger.
The impetus to act in such cases is not merely a reaction to the present, but an echo, an unconscious attempt to rewrite a different outcome for that enduring pain, whether it be our own or that of someone we observed. It is as if our inner guardian, forged in past experiences, is activated to protect not only the other, but also the integrity of the very ideal of justice we uphold. Furthermore, the manner in which we navigate our own emotions amidst periods of heightened tension yields profound insights into our intrinsic patterns. The capacity to transmute anger or frustration, inherent responses to perceived injustice, into lucid and assertive discourse, as opposed to an impulsive eruption, serves as a testament to a highly developed emotional intelligence. This necessitates an intuitive process of self-regulation, wherein we acknowledge the intensity of the emotion, yet deliberately choose to channel it constructively. It is the mastery of profound emotional experience without succumbing to overwhelming sentiment, allowing clarity of thought and deliberate intent to guide one's discourse and actions. Consequently, the championing of another's inherent worth becomes inextricably linked to the upholding of our own boundaries and tenets. When a loved one's dignity is assailed, it is as if an invisible boundary were breached, not merely for them, but for us too. This constitutes a profound violation of the values that underpin our relationship and, by extension, our very identity. Such an act of intervention, therefore, is not solely a gesture of altruism. It is equally an assertion of who we are, what we stand for, and what we categorically will not countenance. It is an act of self-respect made manifest through the safeguarding of another, underscoring the conviction that we will not permit external superficiality to dictate the inherent truth of those we hold dear, or indeed our own. Ultimately, these challenging moments beckon us towards profound introspection. They unveil the breadth of our readiness to lay ourselves bare, to render ourselves visible, and to confront external scrutiny for the sake of a higher truth. They assay the resilience of our internal structures and afford us the opportunity to fortify the very edifice of our being. It is a summons for courage to transcend the trepidation of vulnerability and for the voice of truth, intrinsic to each of us, to fully actualize, not merely transforming our external circumstances, but, more profoundly, our very internal odyssey.
Upon reflecting on the dynamics of that scene, it is imperative to shift our gaze from the epicenter of pain and defensiveness so as to cast a new light upon those who, as it happens, proffered the mockery. It is a natural inclination to categorize the behavior of others as pure malevolence or intentional disdain. Yet, the complexity of human interaction often lies in more profound strata, where unconsciousness, fear, and even inherent limitations of perspective shape reactions. Indeed, ridicule, hasty judgment, or the devaluation of another's endeavor rarely emerge from a place of intrinsic malice. More commonly, they are manifestations of an inner world that, at times, lacks expansiveness or security. Let us contemplate the nature of the unknown. For many, that which deviates from established norms, the familiar, or the socially validated, can engender a latent discomfort. This is not a conscious aversion, but rather a difficulty in processing something that does not align with the mind's predetermined cognitive frameworks. Thus, laughter or criticism can serve as a means of attempting to diminish or even invalidate that which evokes a sense of unfamiliarity. It is as if the mind, upon encountering a novel and vast landscape, yet lacking the requisite map to navigate it, opts to discredit it instead of embarking on its comprehension. This behavior, though distressing for the recipient, reveals more about the observer's internal rigidity than about the intrinsic value of the observed. Furthermore, the phenomenon of projection warrants consideration. It is not uncommon for an individual's inherent vulnerabilities and insecurities to be externalized through criticisms directed at others. An individual who perhaps harbors deep-seated frustrations concerning their own professional trajectory, or who silently laments unmade choices, may perceive the success or dedication of others, particularly when such commitment is channeled into an unconventional pursuit, as a disquieting mirror. Derision, in this context, functions as a defense mechanism, an unconscious attempt to re-establish internal equilibrium, to assert superiority by diminishing the other, thereby circumventing the need to confront one's own shortcomings. It is, in essence, a cry of anguish masked as disdain, an endeavor to alleviate one's own emotional burden at the expense of another's dignity. A further crucial element is group dynamics and the quest for affiliation. Within social milieus, the imperative to conform to collective thought can prove overwhelming. Individuals, on occasion, relinquish their unique perspective to adhere to the majority's viewpoint, even if such an opinion is superficial or inequitable. Collective laughter, or a shared disparaging remark, can serve as acts of social affirmation within a given environment, a means of solidifying bonds and delineating territory. In this context, the object of derision is reduced to a mere instrument for group cohesion, and individual empathy is thus subordinated to a specious semblance of unity. Consequently, while the absence of explicit malevolent intent does not absolve the behavior of its impact, it nonetheless offers a pivotal insight.
A substantial distinction exists between deliberate cruelty and an empathic deficit, wherein an individual genuinely fails to grasp the full extent of the harm they inflict. This is not offered as an exoneration, but rather as an invitation to clarity and discernment. By acknowledging that the behavior of others may stem from a place of limitation rather than outright malevolence, you free yourself from the burden of internalizing that energy as a reflection upon yourself or those you cherish. Ultimately, cultivating a more expansive viewpoint concerning the conduct of others is not tantamount to condoning injustice, but rather serves to enhance one's perceptive faculties. It enables one to see beyond the superficiality of an action, grasping the potential underlying roots that fuel it. In doing so, one not only insulates oneself from the corrosive influence of external judgment, but also fortifies one's own internal gyroscope, guiding one toward more conscious and empathetic engagements. This encapsulates the art of not merely reacting to what is articulated,
but of comprehending what, perhaps, remained unsaid concerning the individual who uttered it. Beyond that moment of intervention and passionate defense, an equally pivotal phase commences: inner reconstitution, restorative dialogue, and the fortification of the relationship as a safe sanctuary. For, ultimately, though the echo of derision may have dissipated from the air, the wound, however subtle, continues to reverberate in the hearts of both the target and the witness. It is within this sensitive sphere that communication emerges not merely as a vehicle for articulation, but as the very architecture of shared emotional security. In the immediate aftermath of such an experience, the paramount priority lies in cultivating a sanctuary of unreserved acceptance. Envision it as the construction of a tranquil haven where the partner, Michael, having endured the humiliation, can unfurl the full spectrum of his emotions without apprehension of censure or trivialization. The objective is not to proffer facile solutions or attempt to rectify the words spoken, but to unequivocally validate the pain, anger, shame, or frustration he may be experiencing. Inquiries such as, "How did this impact you?" or "What resonated most with you in that moment?" pave the way for a vulnerability indispensable to the healing process. It is through active and empathetic listening that one conveys, "I acknowledge your suffering, and it holds validity for me." Furthermore, it is equally paramount that I, having championed the defense, also discover an avenue to process and articulate my own emotions. Bearing witness to the anguish of a cherished individual, experiencing the righteous indignation at injustice, and sensing the immense pressure to intercede, such experiences invariably leave an indelible imprint.
Unveiling my own vulnerabilities, the knowing apprehension of not having been enough, the deep-seated distress from observing another's torment, or even the genuine pride derived from having offered advocacy, serves to foster a profounder sense of intimacy. In voicing a sentiment such as, "I felt such profound rage witnessing what was done to you, and my heart ached seeing your pain," I not only articulate my own inner emotional landscape, but also underscore the reciprocal nature of the experience, thereby solidifying the conviction that we constitute an unyielding bulwark against the world. Another foundational pillar is predicated upon the collaborative delineation of boundaries and the articulation of prospective expectations. Following an incident that undermines one's dignity, an unparalleled opportunity emerges for the couple to engage in profound discourse concerning what constitutes acceptable and unacceptable external conduct. Such a discussion may entail defining our response to analogous future scenarios, or even re-evaluating the frequency or intrinsic nature of certain social interactions. This dialogue is not an exercise in imposing constraints, but rather in intricately weaving a fabric of mutual safeguarding, wherein both parties feel secure and honored in their individual identities and their shared union. It is the opportune moment to recalibrate the relationship's moral compass, ensuring that both parties navigate in harmonious alignment regarding matters of self-esteem and reciprocal respect. Consequently, affirmative language must be deliberate and unwavering. Mere public defense is insufficient. Reinforcing a partner's self-esteem and intrinsic worth must be a daily regimen. This is evidenced through subtle gestures, words that acknowledge the diligence and ardor he dedicates to his vocation, and the celebration of his distinct attributes. It is this consistent validation that, as a balm, alleviates the invisible scars inflicted by humiliation. Such sustained and affirmative communication transforms the relationship into a sanctuary, a refuge where the intrinsic worth of each individual is beyond question, regardless of any distortions the external world may attempt to impose.
In essence, emotional security is not a static state. It is a dynamic process of ongoing construction and reconstruction, fostered by courageous self-disclosure and an unwavering commitment to empathetic listening. It embodies the implicit guarantee that, irrespective of external tempests, within the relational sphere, there will always be a steadfast refuge where one's dignity is safeguarded and vulnerability serves as an invitation to profound connection. This encapsulates the true essence of a partnership, where communication constructs not merely bridges, but impregnable bulwarks against the judgment of others.
Once the immediate imperative of defense and the reestablishment of security through communication has receded, we are invited to contemplate a more elevated stage of connection: conscious love. This is not merely a reactive sentiment, a response to adversity, or a transient emotion. On the contrary, conscious love manifests as an active choice, a daily commitment to reciprocal growth and to the profound truth of each individual. It transcends mere coexistence to become a catalytic force that uplifts both individuals, enabling them to blossom into their singular plenitude, even as they weave a shared tapestry. Paradoxically, the very essence of liberty finds its most secure haven within the confines of conscious love. In stark contrast to gilded cages that stifle individuality, a partnership sustained by such consciousness encourages each person to forge their own paths, to pursue their deepest passions, and to honor their intrinsic rhythms. There is no room for possessiveness or control. Instead, it fosters a genuine admiration for the other's continuous unfolding. It is the profound understanding that true love does not imprison, but liberates. It is akin to perceiving one's partner as a mighty river, allowing it to follow its intrinsic course while one flows alongside, respecting its banks and celebrating the unique landscape it sculpts. Furthermore, reciprocity in this caliber of love transcends the mere calculus of giving and receiving. It embodies a healthy interdependence, where the well-being of one sustains that of the other, not born of obligation, but stemming from an intrinsic awareness that their paths are inextricably linked. Conscious mutuality necessitates a profound attunement, the capacity to anticipate unarticulated needs, to provide unwavering support, and to revel in a partner's triumphs as if they were one's own. It is the ballet of two individuals who, though disparate, move in synchronicity, forging together a singular rhythm that propels them forward. Consequently, truth serves as the immutable bedrock of this elevated form of love. It necessitates the courage for genuine vulnerability, to lay bare not merely the highlights, but also the shadows, fears, and imperfections. Within a conscious relationship, radical honesty is not a weapon, but rather an instrument of growth. It signifies the willingness to confront uncomfortable truths, to articulate what causes distress or necessitates rectification, with the unwavering conviction that such clarity is the sole conduit for true depth and fortitude. It entails preferring the momentary sting of revelation to the insidious erosion wrought by silence and omission. Thus, conscious love proves to be a fertile ground for healing and emotional maturity. Within its embrace, deep-seated wounds can be aired out and progressively mended, not through denial or oblivion, but through acceptance and mutual support.
It beckons us to shed the armor forged by past experiences and to confide in the safety of a space where we are wholly embraced. By cultivating this profound connection, not only is the relationship fortified, but each individual emerges more integrated, more authentic, and more capable of loving, not merely the other, but also oneself, with a renewed compassion and a newfound wisdom. Ultimately, after this contemplative odyssey concerning the intricacies of relationships and the fortitude required to articulate one's truth, I arrive at a state of profound tranquility. True power, I perceive, resides in the quietude of my own presence, in the capacity to ground myself in an inner conviction that transcends the vicissitudes of external turbulence. It is the unshakable conviction that my inherent value is not subject to negotiation, nor is it predicated upon accolades, critiques, or the comprehension of others. My very essence is an unquenchable flame, and my paramount responsibility is to nurture it, safeguard it, and enable it to illuminate my singular trajectory, irrespective of any shadows that might be cast upon it. I contemplate the very essence of resilience within me. It is not solely about withstanding the blows, but about flourishing through them, transforming each challenge into a catalyst for profound self-understanding. With every adherence to my inner compass and every choice of authenticity over conformity, I am forging a mantle of fortitude that shields me against the vicissitudes of the world. This signifies an ongoing odyssey of self-discovery, wherein, with each step, I unveil deeper layers of my inherent wisdom and courage, erecting an unassailable inner bastion, impervious to judgment or misapprehension. The peace I pursue often resides not in an external outcome, but in embracing life's currents and trusting my inherent capacity to navigate its complexities. It is the equanimity that emerges when I relinquish the compulsion to dictate others' perceptions and instead redirect my focus toward aligning my actions with my highest values. In doing so, I become a beacon of integrity, not for the sake of outward impression, but because it constitutes the most authentic manifestation of my true self. This encapsulates the liberty to simply exist, unfettered, without requiring vindication, merely existing in my unadulterated wholeness, radiating an authenticity that is my hallmark. Cultivating this personal sovereignty necessitates a daily commitment to self-compassion. I recognize that along my path there will be instances of doubt, unforeseen challenges, and periods of uncertainty. Rather than succumbing to self-recrimination, I extend to myself the same kindness and understanding I would offer a cherished friend. I acknowledge my vulnerabilities as an intrinsic aspect of my humanity and commemorate my achievements, however modest they may appear. This self-tenderness serves as the impetus that sustains my inner fortitude, empowering me to invariably rebound with greater wisdom and renewed resilience, poised for the subsequent step. Thus, as we bring our conversation to a close, I embrace this foundational premise. I am the architect of my own serenity. No external force can bestow upon me or divest me of that which resides within my heart. The intrinsic capacity to love, to safeguard myself, to heal, and to flourish resides inherently within me. I allow myself to feel, to assimilate knowledge, and to evolve. While the journey may not always prove facile, the reward of living a life anchored in my intrinsic truth and worth is undeniably the most profound and enduring of all. May I, therefore, proceed with the unwavering conviction that my luminosity is singular, irrefutable, and indispensable. Synthesizing the reflections delineated thus far, I discern that the intensity of a moment of advocacy, that voice raised on behalf of another's truth, is not an isolated event, but rather the nexus where multiple layers of my existence converge. It's akin to a river which, in the course of its journey, is enriched by diverse tributaries, the limpid waters of self-awareness, the sediments of past experiences that have honed my apprehension of worth, and the profound currents of empathy that allow me to glimpse the other's universe. Each of these waters intertwines, forging a more potent and discerning current. Building upon these understandings, the journey of recognizing and articulating one's intrinsic worth, particularly when obscured by external judgments, manifests less as a solitary act of bravery and more as a reflection of one's inherent integrity. The unwavering resolve to uphold the dignity of others springs from a fertile ground of self-awareness, where the roots of our own value have been meticulously nurtured. It is upon this very same ground that the capacity to discern the underlying motivations of another's conduct is profoundly enhanced, enabling us to perceive beyond the veneer of disdain and comprehend the latent insecurities and limitations that may subtly reside within the psyche of the one who judges. The intricate interplay of these insights guides us to a profound comprehension of how genuine bonds are forged. It transcends merely reacting to adversities. Rather, it involves meticulously interlacing, thread by thread, a resilient tapestry of security and trust capable of withstanding the vicissitudes of the external world. Shared vulnerability, empathetic listening, and the readiness to articulate both pain and truth serve as the pivotal stitching points that fortify this complex weave. It is within this sustained dialogue, wherein emotions are validated and boundaries are reciprocally established, that the partnership evolves beyond a mere association to become a safe haven, a sanctuary where the authenticity of each individual is celebrated unreservedly. Amidst this intricate tapestry of insights, the very nature of love undergoes a profound redefinition. It transcends the confines of passive emotion or reactive response, metamorphosizing into an active, conscious, and transformative force. This form of love, fostered by freedom and truth, cultivates an environment wherein individual growth and mutual evolution are not merely encouraged, but constitute the very nexus of the bond. It represents the sanction for each to flourish in their unique individuality, while reciprocity and deference serve as the vital sustenance that underpins this vitality. The dynamic interplay between the self and the collective at this elevated stratum attains a harmony that reverberates with the deepest truth. Reflecting upon this intricate and illuminating journey, I discern that every stride, every epiphany, every act of courage or profound insight contributes to the edifice of an inner citadel. This citadel is not erected to sequester us from the world, but rather to anchor us steadfastly within our essence, allowing external voices to recede into mere distant echoes, incapable of perturbing that which is fundamentally true. The odyssey we have traversed, from initial anguish to a multifaceted comprehension of human dynamics and the transcendence of love, lays the groundwork for a culminating realization, a truth that solidifies and beckons us to inhabit a new stratum of existence. It is from this amalgam of insights that an even profounder understanding of our inherent strength is unveiled. Upon concluding this journey of introspection and understanding of the dynamics that shape our deepest connections, I am compelled to elevate my perspective beyond the immediate challenge. That reverberation of disdain, which once rent the air and sought to diminish the worth of honest toil or the radiance of a soul, reveals itself, in its profoundest essence, not as an end in itself, but as a potent catalyst. It was not merely a noise to be stifled, but a tacit summons for the intrinsic truth of one's being, and the integrity of a love to manifest with unshakable strength, forged in the very crucible of others' incomprehension. True triumph, therefore, lies not in stifling the cacophony of external judgment, but rather in fortifying the internal harmony of one's deeply held convictions. It is the capacity to recognize that the intrinsic worth of an individual, irrespective of their identity, is not a fluctuating metric contingent upon social approbation or the superficiality of cursory appraisals. On the contrary, their dignity, their purpose, and the very essence of their passion are inherent, inalienable, and reside within an inviolable inner sanctum that no derision, however vociferous, can profane. This epiphany transmutes the sting of humiliation into a conduit for profound self-affirmation, where vulnerability evolves into a wellspring of authentic power. It is within this crucible of self-discovery that love, in its most enlightened manifestations, attains its most profound flourishing. That defensive stance, born from a love that fundamentally refuses to countenance the diminution of the other, is not merely a transient reaction. It is the reflection of an unwavering reciprocal commitment to truth and the freedom to exist authentically. Conscious love teaches us that the most effective protection is not one that erects barriers, but rather one that meticulously constructs bridges of communication and validation, thus rendering emotional security an impregnable foundation. It invites us to a symbiotic dance of reciprocity, where support emanates not from obligation, but from a profound resonance between souls that recognize and uplift each other. The most profound implication, stemming from all we have explored, is rooted in the realization that adversities, however grievous they may be, serve as mirrors. They reveal not merely the shadows of the world, but also the indomitable light that resides within us. The reverberation of scorn, in retrospect, can transmute into a reminder that the most crucial voice to be heeded is the one that resonates from our innermost being, the one that validates our truth, that champions what is just, and that celebrates love in all its myriad forms. It is the courage to embrace our authentic self, to love whom we love, and to champion the endeavor that shapes our identity, regardless of the lens through which the world chooses to perceive us. Henceforth, the true work begins. This is not about garnering praise, but about embodying integrity. Nor is it about shunning criticism, but about forging an inner bastion of self-assurance. May the memory of that echo, which once sought to belittle, serve as a constant beacon, illuminating the path toward a life lived with purpose, with passion, and with the unshakable certainty that the worth of a human being is a melody no external dissonance can silence. May I continue to weave my own narrative with threads of courage and conscious love, knowing that my essence is precious, singular, and eternally worthy of celebration. I am profoundly grateful for your presence on this journey of introspection. Sharing this narrative serves as a powerful conduit for us to connect through the experiences that sculpt us, fortify our resolve, and impart a more conscious understanding of love. If this message resonated with you, or you believe it could touch someone's heart, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. By doing so, we can continue to collectively explore more stories about the inherent strength within each of us.